Welcome to This Week with Ajaz Haque. It is Saturday, May 23, 2020. Sad news to bring to you about the PIA plane crash yesterday. We'll come back to you in a minute. The other item we are covering in this video today is the Sugar Commission report that was mandated by the Prime Minister. And there's a Turkish TV drama that is gripping the nation's attention. We'll bring you the Corona update. With Haque Dam now under construction, the question is, will Kalabagh Dam follow soon? Two federal ministers are being investigated by the National Accountability Bureau. Finally, the trial of Dr. Imran Farooq, a senior MQM leader who was murdered in London a few years ago. The judgment is expected soon. Now, back to the PIA plane crash. It was the Airbus 320, which left Lahore at 1 p.m. yesterday. It was due to land at 2:45 p.m. at Karachi airport, when just 1 kilometer short of the runway, both the engines of the plane ceased and the plane fell over a number of houses. 99 passengers and crew altogether, only 2 survived and 97 died. All the bodies have been recovered since then. About 5 houses were almost destroyed and a few others damaged, and there are a number of injuries on the ground as well. A very unfortunate incidents. This hasn't happened in PIA history in a long time. Some of the smaller planes have crashed in the mountains, but on major domestic routes there's been no major air crash since the Orient Airways in the 50s, which was the predecessor to PIA. So one hopes that PIA will check all its planes again and make sure they are flight worthy and do not risk the passengers' lives. Now, regarding the Sugar Commission report that came out a couple of days ago, it transpires that 6 political families, which have been in the government most of the time, own a majority of 78 sugar mills in Pakistan. They dictate the policies, they dictate the prices, and they hold the government hostage for subsidies. They hold the farmers hostage to pay their prices. Farmers wait for weeks sometime to get payment of their sugarcane, and they wait for at times up to a month to deliver their sugarcane to the factories. So this is a cartel, a mafia, which has been ripping the country off and ripping the taxpayer. In the last few years, Pakistan has paid 29 billion rupees as export subsidies to these companies because the sugar they produce in Pakistan, they claim, is more expensive than the sugar price in the international market. Therefore, to export, they need a subsidy. Question is why? If they cannot produce at a competitive price, why should they export? Also, the sugar industry's expansion has done a lot of damage to the textile industry because the cotton crop area has reduced and the sugarcane area has increased. Now, sugarcane area requires a great deal more water, so the other crops are also suffering. It's time that the government puts its foot down and, as a penalty, shut down some of those offending sugar mills for good. Also, reduce the area of sugarcane cultivation so that more cotton can be grown at home. Because of the sugarcane's expansion, 40% of all cotton consumed in textile industry in Pakistan is now imported, which is a shame. At one time, we had sufficient cotton for our textile industry and we had enough left over for export. So it's time that we revive the textile industry, which is the backbone of Pakistan's economy and exports. So one hopes that this report will help improve those things. Now, a Turkish drama, which is gripping the attention of the nation, Ertugrul, E-R-T-U-G-R-U-L. It's being shown on Pakistan television, dubbed in Urdu. It's also available on YouTube with Urdu dubbing as well as English subtitles. It's a fascinating story of an Anatolian tribe, modern-day Turkey, who were nomads, who moved place to place, who fought wars, and the Sultan Suleiman's second son, Ertugrul, then consolidated all the other tribes and created into one large mass of Turkish groups and became a major power. His son, Osman, pronounced in Arabic as Uthman and in the West as Ottoman, he laid the foundation of the Ottoman Empire. in 1299, and that lasted 600 years until 1922. The Ottoman Empire became very powerful. It was spread over 3 continents, and some of the countries that it ruled included the modern-day Turkey, Greece, Bulgaria, Egypt, Hungary, Romania, Jordan, Palestine, Lebanon, the Balkan states, Syria, North African coast, and some other countries. The peak of the Ottoman Empire was around 1510 to 1530, when it was most powerful and occupied most territory. It then got involved in wars and gradually started losing ground. Greece became independent from it about 100 years later. And then the Balkan Wars in 1912 and 1914 weakened the Ottoman Empire considerably, and by 1922 the West had broken up the Ottoman Empire. Almost 40 countries came out of Ottoman Empire, including the present-day Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Syria, Jordan, as well as some other countries. In 1923, the West made Kemal Atatürk sign a Lausanne Treaty, which was signed in Lausanne, Switzerland, prohibiting Turkey from exploring oil, from making it a religious country, and from interfering in other countries' affairs. And that treaty ends in 2023, i.e. 3 years from now. So it remains to be seen what happens to the remains of the Ottoman Empire. Now, the other areas, Pakistan has sent a plane load of medical supplies to the United States as a gift. A C-130 aircraft landed at Andrews Air Force Base 2 days ago. It's interesting, for years Pakistan has received aid from the United States, and now the United States is receiving aid from Pakistan. The National Accountability Bureau is investigating 2 federal ministers, the Minister for Aviation and the Minister for Religious Affairs, for corruption. It will be a few months before we find out what happened to the, whether they were actual corruption or they were just allegations. The murder trial of Dr. Imran Farooq, who is senior leader of MQM. Dr. Imran Farooq was murdered in London, and ideally the trial should have been conducted in London, but it was conducted in Karachi, in Pakistan. But there was a cooperation between the British Home Office and the Pakistan Interior Ministry, and as evidence was provided, a young girl who witnessed the murder provided evidence by video link, and another young lady who saw the murder also provided evidence. The trial has ended. The judgment comes out on June the 18th. So let's hope the culprits are punished, but the fingers are pointed at the MQM founder, Mr. Altaf Hussain, who's hiding in London. Now, a summary of the financial markets. Pakistan Stock Exchange was almost even. Friday was a holiday, so it was neither up nor down. Mumbai Stock Exchange was down again by 1.4%, and S&P 500 was up 2%. Now, Eid is expected to be on Sunday, so Eid Mubarak to all of you, and wish you well. And although in this sad time when so many families have lost their loved ones in the PIA crash, it will not be the usual celebratory Eid. And please do subscribe and press the bell icon so you get the latest updates. Thank you very much. See you next Wednesday.